So good morning, everybody. My name is Reverend Dr. Ron Fox, and welcome to the Sunday celebration for the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast. And I just want to begin the way we do every week and say, if you've never been to a Center for Spiritual Living before, we believe there's one God, many paths to that God, and we're here to love, honor, and support you, no matter what your divine path is. And the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast is a safe haven for people of all beliefs and lifestyles. Whoever you are and wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith, you're welcome here. And so, in the Bible, you read about how Moses wandered in the desert for 40 years. We have two practitioners that are taking up his cause and wandering in Colorado and Florida for 40 years. But they're back here today, and we're really thrilled to see them because we haven't seen them in a while. And they're going to begin our service, Edgar and Patrice Rivera. And Patrice is going to pray us in, and then Edgar's going to do a spiritual reading for us. So welcome, you guys. It's great to see you again.
Hey, we're happy to be back. And so if we could just take a moment, take in that deep breath, allow our eyes to close, our gaze to soften, feel the seat underneath us, and just let go. Let go of everything that transpired before this moment. Breathing in to this moment. And in this moment, here is what I absolutely know. I know that there is only one. There is one power, one love, one heart, one paintbrush, one song, one joy, one limitless everything. And out of that one, I know that I am, that is me, that is all that are we. I know that just as when you take a bucket of water out of the ocean, it is still ocean water. It is the same for humanity. We are absolutely all, each and every one of us, one of the one. And so from this place of knowing this absolutely defensible truth, I know that as we surrender and sink into the love that is the divine, our lives become enriched. We become stronger, kinder, more loving, more joyous. And I know that each and every one of us on this call are a blessing. I know that each and every one of us everywhere are a blessing. But most particularly today, each of us on this call, because I know as we revel in the words of Dr. Ron, we take them out into the world. We take them into our hearts. We feel a little better, a little kinder about ourselves. We feel a little more love and generosity towards what we look at as others. For we remember that there really are no others. There may be one paintbrush, but there are many colors of paint. There might be one song, but there are many singers, many notes, many harmonies, even some discordance as well. But it is all part of the one. And so in this place, I am so grateful. I am so grateful for Dr. Ron. I am so grateful for every word that he says that imparts that peace that each of us need in this moment to remember our truth. I am so, so grateful that we take that in, that we take that out to the world. I am so, so grateful for the kindness that is God. And so in this place of gratitude and in this place of blessing and in this place of knowing that this gathering is a blessing and very, very blessed, I just release, let go, and know that it is so. And so it is.
So it is. So it is.
My reading this morning is from Ernest Holmes' book, Living Without Fear. Don't know if you can see that. Deep within our minds is a spirit, which we but slightly comprehend. From this universal reservoir of power, a spiritual consciousness passes through our minds into action. When this mind is peaceful and still, it catches a vision of this greater good. While the mind is in turmoil and conflict, it cannot receive an image beyond the vicious cycle of that small measure in which it has been treading around. Somewhere the walls of the measure must be broken down. We must learn that we can transcend our previous experiences, that we are bigger than we know, that beyond the infinite, that beyond the finite is the infinite. We will never arrive at the point of demonstration, experiencing the intended purpose of our prayer, while we believe we have to put energy into spirit, thus surpassing the throne of the original creative genius. There is an energy in thought, not because we wish it to be so, but because it is so. Definite and specific thinking draws this energy through our conscious desires and makes manifest those desires at the level of our comprehension of good.
Thank you, Patrice and Edgar. So this morning, my talk title is Teaching Old Dogs New Tricks. And a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 maybe now, Reverend Jenna taught a class, Aging to Saging. And I know it really had an impact on several of us. So this week I went back and I was looking at the book again, and the authors make a point that old age isn't a time of diminished creativity. And they give some examples, like Verdi composed the opera Othello when he was 73, and he composed Falstaff when he was close to 80. Picasso was doing world-class art in his 90s. And one that really surprised me, Frank Lloyd Wright did all of his best creative work from age 69 onward. And Buckminster Fuller was creative up into his 80s. So, you know, this doesn't have to be a period, old age, of fallowness for us. And I saw this story this week about Ram Dass. Ram Dass was visiting a friend of his in India. And the friend looked at him and he said, "Ram, you're looking so old." And Ram Dass was horrified because that's an insult in our culture. But later, when he thought about it, he realized that his friend was congratulating him on becoming an elder. And what he was really saying to him was how wonderful it is that you've arrived at old age, because in his culture, that was a really high compliment to give somebody. And the authors also make the point that elders can harvest their lives. And so what does that mean, to harvest your life? It means to gather the fruits of a lifetime's experience and enjoy them. For instance, being able to celebrate the contributions that one made in their career, or the contributions they made to their family. The friendships, celebrating the friendships that they've nurtured, or the young people that they've mentored. It shows us, harvesting shows us that we've made a difference in the world. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Centers for Spiritual Living, wrote, "Life is for today. There will be no change for tomorrow unless we do the changing today. Today, we are putting in motion the power of tomorrow. Today is God's day, and we must extract from it what of life we are to live." So I was reading another book. I didn't write down the title. I should have, by a lady named Iris Krasno. And she makes some wonderful points about the aging process. And she says, you know, before we can experience a metamorphosis, we must have an awakening of who our deep self is. And she says, and then when we know that, comes the courage to create a life that feels purposeful, real, and passionate. And you know, one of the things about medical science is they've done some amazing things, and it's possible for us to live way longer than our parents did. And so because of that, there's a new consciousness of what aging and what it is to be alive. And so with that thought, it's never, ever too late to reinvent ourselves. And one of the things Iris did was she made a life to-do list, not your typical to-do list, but a life to-do list. And she said, some of the things that I put on there, a couple of them are to raise $100,000 for a charity that does breast cancer research. And another thing she had on her life to-do list was to get to know God better. So ask yourself, we can stop, we can pause and ask ourselves, what do I want to accomplish in this life? And then put down on paper anything that you think is possible. And she makes the point that anything is possible as long as we have the 3 Ps. And the 3 Ps are purpose, perseverance, and passion. Purpose, perseverance, and passion. So what are you going to do for an encore? Make this the year that you live out your fantasies. And what are you waiting for? Why not begin now when you're in good health and you have a real shot at recreating? And she writes in there as an example, she was having breakfast with she described him a big name publisher in New York. And she asked him the question, who would you be if you weren't who you are? Interesting question, isn't it? Who would you be if you weren't who you are? And his response to her was, inside of me is a jazz pianist, and someday that's going to happen. Let me read you another quote by a fellow named Orison Swett Martin, who said, deep within man dwell these slumbering powers, powers that would astonish him, forces that would revolutionize his life if aroused and put into action. So let me tell you another story I read this week, and it's about a trapeze artist who's instructing students on how to perform on the high bar. And one of the students freezes. He's frozen with fear. He can't move. And he repeats over and over, I can't do it. I can't do it. And the instructor puts his arm around this young man and he says, son, you can do it. And I'm going to tell you how. He said, throw your heart over the bar and your body will follow. In other words, what he was saying to him is, fire your heart with where you want to go and what you want to be. And when you do that, you can overcome any fear and any doubt. You know, the truth is, we can't run from our true selves forever. There's that still, quiet voice that keeps nudging us to be who we're meant to be. And Wayne Dyer wrote a book called Excuses Be Gone. And in the book, he makes the point that young people get a slew in their lives of no, you can't messages. no you can't messages like, you'll never amount to anything. You're not really smart enough. Do you really think that you can be that good? You can never be good enough. You'll never get ahead if you don't follow the rules. And Dyer makes the point that as adults, we can change those messages. We can write ourselves new affirmation or affirmations that take us beyond that. We can write an affirmation that says, I am a worthy and valuable person. I can accomplish anything I choose. I am loved by others and I love myself, just as an example. You know, it takes courage to start anew. And I know Becky and I have done that a few times in our life. But if you don't summon up the courage to do that, you might miss out on being the real you. When you follow your heart, you live the life that you were meant to live. The simple message is follow your heart. Alan Cohen says, ask yourself the question, what bridges might I do well to burn? What bridges might I do well to burn? You know what, when I read the Wayne Dyer material, it brought me back to something that I wrote years ago. When Becky and I first came here, somebody taught a writing class to us. And I want to share something that I wrote in that class that kind of makes the point that Dyer made. And so here we go. Like many of us, I've had my share of naysayers along the way. Friends, business associates, relatives, teachers, all of whom never missed an opportunity to pass along a discouraging word. I'm sure you know what I mean. The people who said, why are you doing that? You'll never succeed. Are you nuts? You're not that smart. Be reasonable. But I didn't want to be reasonable. I wanted to be Ron. So they helped me build my determination. Instead of giving up, I got going. I wrote, I spoke, I started a business, and with that, everybody said I would fail, and I made more money than I ever did. I even grew my hair long when my friends thought I was losing my mind. But what mattered was being who I needed to be. So, to all of those who doubted, laughed at my dreams, told me I wasn't enough, and generally tried to push me to living a smaller life than I dreamed about, thank you. You made me stronger than I ever knew I could be. Your doubt made me determined. I might never have done it without you. I owe you all a debt. Just as those who love me gave me positive affirmation, you gave me the desire to carry on. And now that I'm living a life that I could never have envisioned, with a love I never could have envisioned, consider the debt paid in full. I graduated, and you're all free to find somebody else to discourage. So I want to read you another quote by E.E. Cummings, who said, to be nobody but myself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you like everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight. And you never stop fighting. So I read a blog this week that asks the question, why is the adage about old dogs wrong? You know, the adage, old dogs can't learn anything new. Why is that wrong? And the answer is, it assumes all old people are the same. And the fact is, as we grow older, our differences increase. We become more different as we age. And some things that they found in research about old people, older adults, is older adults take classes and learn for the sake of learning. They learn to keep their minds active. They take classes to create social connection and to make acquaintances with like-minded people. Older people are more comfortable with ambiguity. In classes, they ask the tough questions. They want to know how things are relevant in their lives. So what are some things that we can do? Let me give you just a couple. We can sign up for a class that we've always wanted to take. You know, Becky and I, when I was going through this week, we decided that we're going to take a class together on cooking. She doesn't need it, but I do, but it's something we're going to do together. You can ask a friend to teach you something that you don't know how to do. You can think of something you'd like to create and then go give it a shot. You can invite friends to try a sport that you've never tried but always wanted to try. You can make a list of things that you think you'd enjoy doing and then pick one and go ahead and do it. You can go somewhere you've always wanted to go. You can take a weekend road trip somewhere close that you've always wanted to visit. And that's just a few. I mean, I'm sure you could think of your own, but there are no limits to what we can do. So I read another article this week about the hallmarks of an empowered life. And so before I tell you what some of them are, let me give you a definition. So this author, whose name was Kathy Caprino, she defines empowerment as meaning accessing and marshaling all the passion, power, and purpose you have inside you so you can live and work as you truly want to. And let me give you four things she talked about that are hallmarks of an empowered life. The first one is you feel respected. You feel respected. People respect you and they value that your input and the contributions that you're making. The second one is, or a second one, you feel meaningful. There's meaning and purpose in the roles that you assume in life. A third one is you feel like you're contributing. You're using all of your talent and skills in a way that serves other people. And the last one I'll share with you is that you have a vision for your life. And so what does that mean? It means you have a vision for your life and for the legacy that you want to leave. You know what that legacy is, and you know what you stand for and what you care about. And so I want to close with one last quote from Byron Tracy, who's Brian Tracy, I'll get it, Brian Tracy, who said, "The potential of the average person is like a huge ocean unsailed, a new continent unexplored, a world of possibilities waiting to be released and channeled towards some great good." So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. God bless you and have a great week.